this week, Yamaha's groundbreaking YZFR1. Robert continues his journey from Madras to Manchester, and Brendan Riley finds a very interesting bike. But first, here's Jeff in London.
Well, no prizes whatsoever for guessing where we are, because that's Battersea Power Station, but there are prizes available here today. We're actually in Battersea Park, and no, we're not having to go in the fairground, but this is the Dispatch Rider of the Year competition, and we're going to see just what you have to do to be top rider.
Welcome to Battersea Park!
Kevin, you're the guy who matters. You're responsible for everything going on today. Is that why you look worried?
Unfortunately, yes. I've been given the task of putting this thing together.
Yeah, but so far, are you pleased with the turnout?
I'm very pleased. It's a good response, good turnout from all the competitors, drivers involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, very pleased. It's gone smoothly.
How many do you think you've got? Competitors? I mean, you've got spectators as well.
Competitors, we've got 115 competitors actually going around.
So that's pretty good.
It is. It's far more than we expected.
Now, the Dispatch Rider of the Year competition, I remember a few years ago it was running, but it's been off air for what, 8 years?
Yeah, the last one was in 1990. It sort of died a death through lack of interest and whatever. And about a year ago we decided to let's resurrect it and have another go at it.
So tell us, what's the actual idea behind it all? Is it a social thing, or is it a serious message?
It's a social event. It's a family get-together. You can see we've got the fairground here, we've got bouncy castles. It's for the families of the dispatch riders, the principals, everyone to mix, and they would just have a nice day out and enjoy themselves.
And at the end of it, there's a star prize, isn't it? That Honda Duvel, that must be...
which is courtesy of Honda. It's very kind of them to give us the bike as a prize.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what's encouraged so many competitors to go for it. Plus, there's loads of other prizes, colour TVs, trips to Paris and things like that. So, there's you know.
Well, no wonder you got a fair number out there.
That's it. Yeah, it's worth entry.
After they've done the highway code, what's next? There's another written test, is there? Or
yeah, there's a written test which is a knowledge of London, which every good dispatch rider should know where various streets are, various interjunctions, how many intersections off roundabouts in London, which motorways go where. It's things what any good dispatch rider should know.
If you're up to the job, you should know.
That's it.
And then, practically, after they've done this written part, we can see over there they've got the old cones to wobble round, or perhaps not wobble round.
Well, some of them are wobbling around there, but no, there's the obstacle course there. There's a seesaw they've got to go over a few pallets, and I think the fun event is shooting the CSM instructor.
Yeah, but why do they want to shoot a poor instructor?
For putting them through the obstacle course, because they designed it. They're getting their own back at the end of it.
And so, after they've done that bit, that's all here at Battersea Park. And then the real crasher, perhaps, well, it certainly will be for me being a stranger to London, is actually going out there, and you've set them some sort of route, haven't you?
They've got, it's like a sort of mini treasure hunt. They've got 7 points to go to. They live at Battersea Park, and they've got 7 addresses to go to in an optimum time. We've set the time. It's within the speed limit, driving progressively. They have to answer the questions when they arrive at the destinations. We can set questions. They come back, they get points for every correct question, and then also they get points for if they hit the optimum point, the optimum time. That's a 10 out of 10. And then minutes either way, the points will be deducted for being too long or too quick. The quickest so far is 12 minutes, and the longest about 90. So that's some of the standards going on today.
Unmistakable CX500 used to be the dispatch rider's bike, but still is for some people, like this guy, Pete Carter. Pete, tell us a little about this one, because it looks a little bit well-worn.
Well-worn. Well, it's been around. It's done 87,000 miles now, up and down the country. I picked it up off a fella in Maidstone, just by chance, tapped me on the shoulder one day. I was renting a company NTV at the time. Yeah. And there it was. I went down and see it after a couple of weeks in the dark, and out she came. Couldn't believe the condition, and here we are.
What's this one been like? I mean, is it a reliable old tool?
She's good as gold. You know, I've had to spend a few quid on her, keeping her going, but apart from that, she wakes up every morning, gets up before me, I'm sure. yeah, good as gold. Lovely bike. You know, big old comfortable seat on her, and yeah, no problems at all.
Or would you believe the competition's been so close that the 6 people got exactly the same points? So in there behind me, which is why I'm keeping my voice down, they're going through a tiebreaker.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop writing. That's it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, this is Chris Granger. You might have guessed this is the guy who actually won. Chris, congratulations.
Thank you.
How did it feel? Or how does it feel?
I'm not surprised, but I'm comfortable with it because I've been dispatching quite a long time now, so it's quite confident. But it's the tiebreaker, I think, that at the end of the decision was quite nerve-wracking.
So the bike, what's that replacing?
I use a company ST1100 at the moment, a pan-European, but I've had an NTV before, which I used to rent, so this will be a great bike to use for me. Hopefully I should see 100,000 miles, no problem.
Okay, well done, and you're off celebrating tonight?
I shall do, yes indeed.
Okay, well congratulations
again,
Chris.
Thank you very much,
All the best.
Thank you.
Delhi, with its population of over 10 million, has overcrowded streets and pavement food stalls. It is a chaotic and dirty place. People cram into anything that moves. We had now spent 5 months in India and knew the lie of the land.
One thing about India is it hasn't changed for hundreds of years. As my great-grandfather said in 1902, India is an abominably dirty place. It still is a dirty place. No hygiene, absolutely nothing. In places like this where you eat on the street, they have got more hygiene than the restaurants, because here you can see them cook.
However, my girlfriend Nuria still had some misgivings, and our relationship was on the rocks. It was time for Nuria to make a decision, whether to come back with me on the bike or fly home to Spain.
So, you know what I decided? That's my ticket back. Bye-bye. No!
I had managed to get my bike repaired again and listened innocently to the advice of another mechanic about the trip home.
You have to, speed is the limit. I mean, if you drive at the right speed, take care of the motorcycle, I can assure you that you reach England without much problems.
We were packed, primed and ready to set off for our last Indian city, Amritsar, the home of the Golden Temple, the most sacred shrine in the Sikh religion. These guards protect the holy picture of Guru Gobind Singh. The Indian-Pakistan border was just 20 kilometres down the road. Customs officers were playing their traditional game of how to extract money from all who passed this way. They stopped us filming, but we argued our case. We were on our way home. Pakistan was next on our agenda, with its mosques, minarets and Muslims. Pakistan was as chaotic as India, with its traffic and street food stalls. But there were fewer women walking around. Nuria had to wear a disguise. I was also glad that I didn't need any dental treatment. On our second day, we drove to the tribal area of Pakistan, close to the border of Afghanistan. We stumbled into a munitions village, where arms are made. They were clearly not too happy to see us, but we quickly suggested paying them some money to fire off their Kalashnikovs. They became fast friends and seemed bemused by Nuria's Rambo impression. We could have done with taking a weapon with us, as disaster wasn't far away, when we got run off the road and ended up in hospital.
just makes me so angry because I've been waiting to do this for three years, and then some maniac just runs you off the road.
It was down to the backstreet mechanics to work wonders again, and soon the Enfield's bent front forks were back in position. We were both in shock and decided that it would be best to take the train from Peshawar to the southern city of Quetta. The train journey lasted 2 days and nights, and the amenities spoke for themselves. However, we couldn't travel any further by train. The track stopped suddenly here, and we had to go to Iran on the infamous Taftam Road through the Baluchistan desert. These noisy, ornately decorated trucks carry food to the remotest desert communities. We had met 2 German bikers, Jorn and Johan, and found it comforting to travel with them through this hostile region. Nuria went on the back of Jorn's bike, as I kept on losing control of the Enfield. Nuria went in search of the little girl's room. We stopped for a rest when a van carrying watermelons drove past us.
Okay,
I'm not sure we paid the right price.
We have watermelon in the middle of the desert.
It was reassuring to know that Jorn had had a few problems in Asia as well.
Accident is normally, everybody has an accident. Minimum one. If you don't have an accident here, you're on the wrong trip.
We've had 5 accidents.
So you are the champion.
After this relieving break, we set off again. This time our destination was the Islamic Republic of Iran.
All the news at the moment seems to relate to the forthcoming NEC Bike Show. It's estimated that over £500,000 worth of orders will be placed for accessories alone. With over 700 new products on view this year, the choice for bikers is greater than ever. And coming up after the break, Brendan Riley explains what must be the world's fastest bike. And we ride the king of the superbikes, Yamaha's R1.
In the past few years, race technology has become the norm on our road bikes. Upside down forks, engine management systems, fuel injection. But in the future, it's not going to be so much race technology, more space technology that'll be creeping into the showrooms around the world. And this is probably the start of it. Because from the University of Strasbourg, Professor von Bierfest has come up with this creation, the world's first microwave bike. Yeah, microwave. Now we've been testing this on the road for the last 2 days, and it's quite simple to ride. Firstly, like a microwave oven, you'll set the timer. Now, it took me 2.5 minutes to get from London to Birmingham, so you set the timer at 2.5 minutes. As well as that, it's got 4 speed settings. It's got defrost for those cold mornings going to work. Nice touch. As well as that, it has 3 speed settings as well, which are cruise, sport, and oh my god! I'm not going to hang on to this! The first question you want to ask probably is, what's it like to ride? Now, I'll give you a little bit of advice. Before you press that start button, I suggest your head's well behind the screen and you're hanging on, because this thing accelerates from 0 to 1300 miles an hour in less than a second. As well as that, it decelerates just as quick. So before you hear the telltale, I'd suggest you brace yourself, because it's the most horrendous engine braking session I've ever experienced. So, there you go, the world's first microwave bike. 0 to 1300 mile an hour in less than a second. London to Birmingham in 2.5 minutes. And as well as that, you can bake a potato!
Three Sisters it says up there. Not, unfortunately, the well-known racetrack in Lancashire, but a lesser-known pub in Yorkshire. But the word race, why did I mention that? Because we're talking about what is without doubt the ultimate in race bike performance on a production bike. This is it, Yamaha's YZF-R1. When they designed the R1, Yamaha had three main objectives. It had to be the most powerful super sports bike, it had to be lighter than all of the competition, and it had to be the most compact in size in its class. So, number one, the most powerful. Yes, it is. Honda's Fireblade will produce 126 brake horsepower. Kawasaki's ZX-9R, about 123 brake horsepower. This R1 can claim, wait for it, 150 brake horsepower. So how on earth does it manage that? Well, this 998cc inline 4-cylinder is totally new for the R1, a brand new engine, and it's packed with sophisticated technology. There's a fancy new electroplating system on the bores, new forged pistons, and a super intelligent X-up system, which monitors throttle position. Not only that, but it recognises the speed at which the throttle is opened, and that's connected to a gear position sensor. All sounds very high-tech. The whole system is programmed to give a massive boost to the mid-range torque between 5,000 and about 7,500 revs. It's all very, very clever stuff. It's not until you hit the open road that you start to realise just how clever it is. The motor is gorgeous at any revs, but really comes to life about 7,000. And from then on, it's hold on tight for some eye-popping, arm-wrenching acceleration, which will see you topping 170 miles per hour. So objective number one, the most powerful sports bike, not only achieved, well and truly smashed. On then to objective number two, to make a bike that's lighter than all of the competition. Well, how have they done that? We're back to the engine once again. This 4-cylinder is both narrower and shorter than anything else of a similar capacity. In fact, it's 81mm shorter from front to back than a Thunder Race engine. And the cylinders and crankcase, which you can't see because they're behind this gorgeous fairing, are a single one-piece unit. Helps to keep the weight down, also helps to keep things a little bit smaller. The gearbox lives in a different place to where you would normally find it. It's been pushed up and forward and it's behind the cylinders, whereas normally it would live down and behind the crank. Helps again to keep the engine short. The swing arm is actually very long on this. The pivot point is well forward, in fact forward of the seat, right up behind the engine. And what that does is it allows the chain's torque reaction to create a downward force on the back wheel and so supposedly improve traction. Shorter engine means shorter wheelbase. 1395mm is the wheelbase of the R1, as short as anything else in this class, shorter than most. Everything about the bike really is small, very compact. To look at physically, it's only about the size of a 600. And once you climb aboard, it only feels like maybe a 400, with a bomb under the seat. And it explodes into life like nothing you've ever ridden. Its small physical size and lightweight help to make the R1 feel really manageable, and almost encourages you to push things perhaps a little further than you would normally. It's great fun trying to keep the front wheel in contact with the tarmac. The riding position has you stretched over the tank, reaching to the low bars in real racetrack style. The handling is faultless, sharp, precise, yet predictable, with no nasty twitches or surprises, no matter how you ride it. Front and rear suspension is fully adjustable, although the factory settings are so good that there's absolutely no need for any fiddling in this department. Leave well alone and just enjoy the ride. The 6-speed gearbox is smooth and very positive, and working the motor hard as you flick through it will see you attaining ridiculous speeds before you can say fixed penalty. Fortunately, everything comes to a rapid halt thanks to the excellent one-piece calipers up front, gripping a pair of 298mm discs. An R1 may not be for everyone, but in a list of biking things to do, a blast on one of these should definitely be in your top 10. You've no doubt noticed that I haven't said a single negative thing about this bike yet, but of course nothing's perfect. One very important thing when you go to choose your new dream machine is to make sure that it actually fits you. This is a very, very high performance machine, capable of things far beyond the reach of 99% of the people who will ever ride it. It could even become a status symbol. I've got an R1. Sounds very good, doesn't it? But there's absolutely no point in you spending £9,400 on all of this, if after every ride you get off it looking like some deformed wreck, aching from head to toe. It certainly is not the most comfortable of bikes. In fact, the riding position could really be described as a little cramped. Another very negative point is this pillion pad here. What is the point? So you don't even think about taking anyone on the back of an R1 unless your pillion rider is a 3-foot midget who's double jointed at the knees any more than a few hundred yards and it becomes an absolute nightmare. Why? Because the pad, well, it's too hard for a start, not comfortable, it's too small, the foot pegs are too high, and it's too high up in relation to the riding position. Pillion head about there, rider's head about there, big wind blast in the face, lots of weight up in the air, no good, forget it. As for the other negative points, well, the good news is there aren't any. It's absolutely incredibly fast, performs like nothing else you've ever ridden, handles superbly well, and really does look the business. And those men from Yamaha say there's more where this came from. So then, when is it we're getting this new R6 then? Eh? On Two Wheels next week, Wayne has a splashing time as we send him out to test waterproof clothing. And after a massive response, we will have the winners' names of our NEC ticket competition.